What if everything you've been told about Adam and Eve is missing a crucial detail? Have you ever wondered if Adam and Eve were truly the first and only humans God created? Or if there might be something more to the story that most people have overlooked for centuries? When you read Genesis carefully, something strange emerges. There appear to be two different accounts of human creation, and they don't quite align. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating mysteries that has puzzled scholars, theologians, and even archaeologists. Did God create two distinct types of humans in the beginning? And could this hidden biblical secret completely transform our understanding of human origins? Now, before we continue, if you're intrigued by biblical mysteries like this one, take a moment to subscribe and comment 0 if you find this video enlightening. This helps our community grow and lets me know what content matters to you. Let's start with what many have missed when reading the very first pages of the Bible. Genesis opens with the majestic words, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." What follows is a cosmic symphony of creation, unfolding day by day. But when we reach humanity's creation, something peculiar happens. In Genesis 1:27, we read, "So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them." This seems straightforward until we turn the page. Because in Genesis 2, we encounter what appears to be a completely different narrative. God forms Adam from the dust of the ground, breathes life into him, places him in Eden, and only later creates Eve from his rib. Two accounts, two different sequences, two potentially different creations. Have you ever noticed this discrepancy? Most of us haven't. We're taught these stories blend together seamlessly. But what if they don't? Some biblical scholars distinguish these accounts as the Elohist tradition, using the name Elohim for God in Genesis 1 and the Yahwist tradition, using Yahweh in Genesis 2. But beyond the different divine names lies a more fascinating possibility. What if these aren't just two perspectives on the same creation? What if they describe two different human creations entirely? Genesis 1 describes humanity collectively, nameless, created simultaneously, male and female, and given dominion over the earth, a broad brushstroke of humanity. Genesis 2 focuses intimately on a specific man and woman, Adam and Eve, placed in a garden with a specific covenant relationship with God. Could it be that Genesis 1 describes the creation of humanity as a species, while Genesis 2 introduces a specific lineage chosen for a unique spiritual purpose? This isn't just splitting theological hairs, because if true, it would explain some of the Bible's most perplexing mysteries. Let's follow this mystery further. After Cain kills Abel, God banishes him, and something strange happens. Cain expresses a peculiar fear. "Whoever finds me will kill me." Wait, who exactly is Cain afraid of? If Adam, Eve, and now Cain are the only humans alive, who are these potential murderers he fears? The mystery deepens when we read, "Then Cain went away from the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden." A land with a name, a settled place. And then, almost casually, the text mentions, Cain knew his wife. Where did Cain's wife come from? The traditional explanation is that she must have been Cain's sister, though the Bible never explicitly states this. But what if there's another possibility, one that aligns with our two human creations theory? What if Cain found other humans living in Nod? Humans created in Genesis 1, not part of Adam's specific lineage. This would elegantly explain Cain's fear, his wife's mysterious appearance, and even his ability to build a city, something difficult to accomplish with just a handful of family members. But this theory becomes even more compelling when we examine one of the Bible's most enigmatic passages. Genesis 6 contains perhaps the most mysterious verses in the entire Bible. When man began to multiply on the face of the land and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of man were attractive, and they took as their wives any they chose. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days. This cryptic passage has generated three main interpretations. The first suggests these sons of God were fallen angels who mated with human women. This view finds support in ancient Jewish texts like the Book of Enoch, which elaborates on these watchers and their giant offspring. The second interpretation proposes they were powerful human rulers who took multiple wives by force. But the third interpretation, and the one that connects with our theory, suggests the sons of God were Adam's descendants, the spiritually aware lineage, while the daughters of men came from the separate human creation of Genesis 1. This isn't just speculation. The Hebrew phrasing distinguishes between daughters of Adam, Adam meaning mankind broadly, and sons of Elohim, suggesting a divine connection. What if the Bible is describing two streams of humanity coming together, one with a special covenant relationship with God, Adam's line, and another representing the broader humanity of Genesis 1? If you're finding these biblical insights fascinating, take a second to hit the like button and comment 1 if you'd like to see more videos exploring hidden patterns in Scripture. Your engagement helps this channel grow. The idea of two human creations isn't limited to biblical interpretation. Ancient texts outside the canonical Bible provide intriguing parallels. The Book of Enoch expands dramatically on the brief Genesis account of the sons of God and the Nephilim. It tells of the Watchers, angelic beings sent to watch over humanity who rebelled by taking human wives. Their offspring were the Nephilim, described as giants whose violence corrupted the earth. Could these elaborate traditions preserve memories of distinct human lineages interacting in prehistoric times? Gnostic texts offer another perspective, presenting a radical dualism between spiritual and physical creation. In some Gnostic traditions, the demiurge, identified with the Old Testament God, creates physical bodies, while the true God sends divine sparks to inhabit them. While Orthodox Christianity rejected these views, they reflect ancient attempts to explain the same mysteries we're exploring today. Even modern science presents interesting parallels. Genetic research has identified common ancestors called mitochondrial Eve and Y-chromosomal Adam, from whom all living humans descend. While these aren't necessarily the biblical Adam and Eve, they represent genetic bottlenecks in human history. Archaeological evidence shows that early Homo sapiens coexisted with other hominid species like Neanderthals and Denisovans, with whom they sometimes interbred. Could these scientific findings echo in some way the biblical account of distinct human lineages? I'm not suggesting the Bible is describing Neanderthals, but it's fascinating that both science and Scripture hint at a human origin story more complex than a simple linear progression. At the heart of this mystery lies a profound theological question. What does it mean to be made in the image of God? In Genesis 1, humanity collectively bears this divine image. But Genesis 2 emphasizes something different. A special, intimate relationship where God breathes life directly into Adam. Some theologians distinguish between the physical creation of humans and the spiritual endowment of the divine image. Perhaps the Genesis 1 humans possessed physical form, while Adam received something more, a spiritual consciousness, a moral responsibility, a capacity for relationship with God. This isn't about creating a hierarchy of human worth. All humans, regardless of origin, bear the divine image in Christian theology. But it might explain the Bible's focus on a specific lineage while acknowledging humanity's broader presence. Consider the two Adams theory in Christian theology, which contrasts the first Adam, representing fallen humanity, with Jesus as the second Adam, representing redeemed humanity. This parallel suggests human history has spiritual turning points, moments when the relationship between humanity and divinity fundamentally shifts. What if the original creation also had such a turning point? A moment when God selected a specific lineage for spiritual purpose from the broader human family. Christian theology has long recognized humans as both physical and spiritual beings, body and soul united yet distinct. The Bible uses fascinating language about this duality. When God creates Adam, he forms him from dust, physical, and then breathes life into him, spiritual. The Hebrew word for this divine breath, ruach, is the same word used for spirit. What if the Genesis 1 account emphasizes our physical creation, while Genesis 2 highlights our spiritual animation? This wouldn't mean two entirely separate creations, but rather two aspects of what makes us human, one universal to all people, physical life, and one specifically cultivated through covenant relationship, spiritual awakening. We experience this duality daily. We are physical beings with biological needs and drives, yet we're also spiritual creatures yearning for meaning, purpose, and connection beyond the material world. When Jesus says, "Man does not live by bread alone," he acknowledges this very tension. We need physical sustenance, yet we require spiritual nourishment too. Perhaps the two creation accounts aren't contradicting each other, but illuminating the dual nature of our humanity, a mystery we still grapple with today. You might be wondering, if all this is true, what difference does it make for my faith? First, it reminds us that the Bible is richer and more nuanced than we often realize. Scripture doesn't just give simple answers. It invites us into deeper exploration of profound mysteries. Second, it helps us understand ourselves better. We are not merely physical beings evolved by chance, nor are we purely spiritual beings trapped in material bodies. We are wonderfully complex creatures with both physical and spiritual dimensions. Third, it illuminates God's relationship with humanity. Perhaps God has always worked with all people while maintaining special covenant relationships with those who respond to his call, from Adam through Abraham, Israel, and ultimately to all who follow Christ. Finally, it encourages intellectual honesty. We can acknowledge the Bible's mysteries and complexities without threatening our faith. In fact, wrestling with these questions can deepen our spiritual understanding. The Bible isn't a simplistic instruction manual. It's a profound library of sacred texts that rewards those willing to dig deeper, ask harder questions, and remain open to wonder. Whether or not you accept the two creations theory, the very process of exploring it can enrich your understanding of Scripture and yourself. As we conclude this exploration, I want to emphasize that we haven't definitively proven God created two types of humans. Rather, we've examined a fascinating possibility that might explain several biblical mysteries. This theory remains exactly that, a theory. Christians throughout history have interpreted these passages differently, and the traditional view of a single human creation remains the majority position. What matters isn't arriving at absolute certainty, but engaging thoughtfully with Scripture's depths and mysteries. The Bible often leaves questions unanswered and mysteries unresolved. Perhaps this is by design, an invitation to deeper engagement rather than passive consumption. So what do you think? Was Adam the only progenitor of humanity? Or might there have been a broader human family alongside Adam's specially chosen lineage? Comment your thoughts below. And if you enjoyed this exploration of biblical mysteries, subscribe for more videos that dive beneath the surface of familiar stories. Remember, whether we descend from Adam alone or from multiple streams of early humanity, Scripture affirms that God knows each of us by name, loves us personally, and invites us into relationship with him. That truth remains unchanged, regardless of how we interpret Genesis's opening chapters. Thank you for joining me on this journey through one of the Bible's most fascinating mysteries.